I have to share this because I've held it in for 6 years, and now it's finally unfolded. A bit of context, since it's important. My elder sibling, Nathan, was forever the favored one. Not due to his achievements, but because he arrived first, resembled our father, and followed the expected path. University, business degree, wed at 27, home in the outskirts. I left school after 2 semesters since funds ran low and began in shipping, climbing the ladder. No diploma, yet I earn more than Nathan does today. That detail stays hidden from my relatives. My father passed when I was 28, bequeathing the residence and all contents to Nathan. I received zilch. Not a timepiece, not a picture collection, nothing. My mother justified it since Nathan had the household, the security, the prospects. I was merely the reserved child who never achieved much in their view. All right, let's discuss this favored child dynamic, because it's astonishing how many households function this way. Parents truly manage their homes like a major corporation with an obvious leadership transition. Nathan's the designated successor, and our fellow. He's in the sorting area wishing someone spots his presence. And sure, I'm not claiming every household must divide all things precisely fair, but zero, not a timepiece, not a picture collection. You're saying this individual's father reviewed his whole existence and concluded, yes, nothing here merits remembrance. That's not a bequest choice, that's a declaration. That's a last note from the afterlife stating, you were never truly part of me. Oh, the pain of that realization still stings like it was yesterday. 6 years back, my mother's well-being began deteriorating, cardiac issues. Nathan abruptly became very occupied with his business career and his ideal household, too occupied to assist. So I began covering costs, initially just her cardiac drugs since coverage only handled a portion. Then the power invoice arrived when she couldn't manage it, then plumbing. Then land levy when she nearly forfeited the home my father granted to Nathan. Online service, all of it. For 6 years, I've been the one sustaining her while Nathan dispatches greeting cards and appears for weekend meals appearing like parent of the decade. She never expressed gratitude once, not once. Instead, she informed relatives I was assisting due to remorse for being a letdown, that I was indebted to her for all the anxiety I generated. This is the segment that ignites my fury, folks. 6 years? Do you grasp how extended 6 years is? That's 72 months of observing your funds deplete for someone who won't even utter appreciation. That's 2,190 days of being the cause the illumination remains, while your sibling arrives with a grin and gets regarded like he positioned the stars. And the boldness, the absolute boldness of this lady to recast her child's offering as atonement. She's not merely unappreciative, she's deliberately altering facts. She's informing the relatives, oh, he's only aiding because he recognizes he's valueless. Madam, valueless individuals don't cover $847 monthly for your cardiac drugs. Valueless individuals don't preserve the residence your preferred child was meant to receive. You know who's valueless here? The fellow with the business degree who can't locate $50 for his own mother's power invoice. Weekend meal. My Uncle Harlan was visiting. We're at this eatery, and my mother launches into me about being 34 with no spouse, no offspring, no qualification, no outlook. Says she should have halted after Nathan. Labeled me the largest failure she ever introduced to this planet, before everybody. Servers could overhear. The adjacent table fell silent. I continued dining, sliced my meal, masticated. Informed her steadily that this failure without a qualification has been funding her power, plumbing, online, land levy, and cardiac drugs for 6 years, while her flawless child with the business degree never contributed a penny. Uncle Harlan pounded his beverage and began chuckling. Not at mother, at me. Informed me I was still pursuing my mother's endorsement like a wandering canine at 34 years. Said I've always been the underdog, a total outsider, that even my father recognized it prior to passing. That's why he granted me nothing. I grinned. I rose, pressed my lips to my mother's brow, and informed her to savor this day. Truly savor it. Savor this day, truly savor it. That is the most threatening remark you can deliver to someone while pressing lips to their brow. That's some mafia boss vibe right there. That's I'm about to reorganize your whole reality, and you aren't even aware yet. And Uncle Harlan, dude, you just observed your sibling verbally dismantle her child in a public eatery. the child who's been financing her existence, and your input is to label him a wandering dog. You likened a man who's been quietly supporting his relatives for 6 years to a homeless creature, pleading for remnants. That's not just harsh, that's calculatedly wicked. That's ensuring he understands that regardless of his actions, regardless of his offerings, he will never be viewed as more than the undesired second effort. But here's what Uncle Harlan fails to comprehend. You can only strike a canine so many times before it ceases returning. And this canine just comprehended he's been protecting a dwelling that was never going to permit him entry anyway. That evening, I accessed every profile. The service provider where I'm the profile owner. The drugstore where her drugs are arranged under my transaction details. The district site where I settle her land levies every 3 months. I deleted my transaction details from all. Terminated every automatic transaction. Monday dawn my device began vibrating. Mother, Nathan, Uncle Harlan, my Aunt June who hasn't communicated with me in 2 years. By midnight I had 63 unanswered calls. I haven't responded to any. But here's what no one realizes yet. Those invoices aren't just going to be bothersome. Land levy is owed in 3 weeks. Mother's cardiac drugs cost $847 monthly without my transaction setup. And the residence, the one father granted to Nathan, it's still in Mother's name as her dwelling. Nathan never shifted it. If she can't settle the levies, that's going to be an issue for both. I've been anticipating 6 years for them to force me sufficiently. They finally did. Revision arriving because Nathan just appeared at my residence complex. Guards wouldn't allow him entry. He's been in the vehicle area for an hour. 63 unanswered calls in 1 day. You know what that indicates to me? That indicates everyone in this relatives recognized precisely who was maintaining operations. They just never recognized it until the system halted. It's like when you don't observe your cooler humming until it fails. Abruptly, the quiet is overwhelming. And Aunt June, who hasn't addressed this man in 2 years, abruptly has his digits committed to memory. Please, these folks didn't misplace his details. They just never required to utilize it because he was performing his role. The unseen role. The role nobody designated him formally, but everyone anticipated him to execute. And Nathan lingering in that vehicle area for an hour? That's magnificent. That's artistic. For 6 years, this man has been anticipating recognition, anticipating gratitude, anticipating someone to notice him. Now Nathan gets to anticipate, and he's only been there an hour. He's got 5 years, 11 months, and about 3 weeks to go before their level. Revision 1. So Nathan lingered in my vehicle area for nearly 2 hours before I finally descended. Not because I felt remorse. Because I desired to witness his expression when he comprehended he couldn't resolve this with a discussion. Some of you inquired why I didn't just persist disregarding him. Here's the matter. I've anticipated 6 years. I desired this encounter. I desired to listen to what justification he'd invent. He was resting against his vehicle when I emerged. Began right away with how Mother was frantic, how she contacted him weeping about invoices she didn't grasp, how I needed to clarify what was occurring, not requesting. Directing me I needed to clarify, like I was the one who was obligated to anyone in clarification. I informed him I ceased funding everything, every invoice, every drug, every levy settlement. All of it finished. Nathan fell silent for about 10 seconds, then began on how I couldn't simply do that, how Mother relied on that funds, how she'd forfeit the residence. I inquired him which residence, the one Father granted to him, the one that's somehow still in Mother's name because he never troubled to shift it, that residence. He didn't have a response for that one. Then came the segment I'd been anticipating. Nathan began clarifying how he couldn't assist monetarily. His spouse Lena manages their finances. They have 2 children in exclusive academy, his vehicle installment, their home loan. He enumerated every expense like I was supposed to sympathize with him. Like his business degree way of life was more vital than sustaining our mother. I inquired him how much he earned last year. He wouldn't respond. I informed him I already knew because Aunt June grumbled to me 3 years back about how Nathan was boasting at holiday dinner about his advancement. $187,000. I earn less than that. No qualification. And I've been handling Mother's whole existence for 6 years while he fretted about exclusive academy fees. Man, hearing him list those excuses made my stomach turn. Lena manages the finances. I need everyone to ponder that phrase for a moment. This adult man, this business degree possessing, $187,000 gaining favored child of the relatives, just stated he can't assist his mother because his spouse won't permit him. Nathan, my comrade in faith, you are revealing so much about yourself right now. You're not clarifying why you can't assist. You're clarifying why you never desired to. Because here's the thing about finances. They mirror priorities. Nathan had sufficient funds for exclusive academy. That's like $50K annually depending on the institution. He had sufficient for his vehicle installment, his home loan, his way of life. But Mother's $847 drugs, Mother's power, that was never in the finances because Mother was never in his finances. She was in his siblings' finances. The sibling with no qualification, no spouse, no children, no genuine obligations. And now Nathan's positioned in a vehicle area, attempting to clarify why his way of life matters more than his mother's existence. And he doesn't even perceive how crazy he sounds. That business degree really instructing you a lot about morals, huh, Nathan? Nathan altered approaches quickly, began stating I was being spiteful, that father would be embarrassed of me, that this was precisely why he granted me nothing, that I was confirming everyone correct about who I truly was. I informed him father granted me nothing because mother persuaded him I didn't merit anything, that she spent my whole youth informing him I was the error, the mishap, the one who wasn't intended, that Nathan was the child they desired and I was the one they got trapped with. I informed him I overheard her say it to father when I was 16. In the cooking area, she didn't realize I was present. Nathan said I was fabricating that mother would never utter something like that I was always envious of him, and this was my method of retaliating against everyone. I chuckled. Informed him to inquire mother himself. Inquire her what she said to father in November 2007 about why she wished she'd halted after one child. Here's where it gets intriguing. Nathan's spouse, Lena, messaged him while we were conversing. I saw his expression shift when he read it. Turns out mother had already contacted Lena directly. Informed her that Nathan needed to begin handling the invoices immediately. Lena was not pleased about discovering there were invoices to handle in the first place. Nathan looked at me and said I just generated a huge issue in his union. I informed him no. Mother generated that issue when she decided to contact his spouse. I just ceased being the relative's mystery that kept everything operating. He departed after that, didn't utter farewell, just entered his vehicle and drove away. I just ceased being the relative's mystery that kept everything operating. Inscribe that, place that on a shirt, because that is what so many individuals in broken households are. They're the relative's mystery. They're the cause holiday gatherings occur, but they're not in the images. They're the one who transports grandmother to her meetings, but gets placed at the youth section. They're the supporting structure that everyone covered with paint and forgot was essential. And Lena, oh Lena, welcome to the gathering, lady. You just discovered your husband has been concealing a whole reliant mother from you for your whole union. That's not a minor falsehood about forgetting to remove the waste. That's a basic deceit about who he is and what your funds has not been directed toward. Nathan didn't just deceive his sibling for 6 years, he deceived his spouse. He allowed her to think they were constructing an existence together while his sibling was supporting their capacity to do so. Every exclusive academy fee check Lena authorized. That was feasible because someone else was funding to keep Nathan's mother living. I hope she calculates it, but here's the fresh complication. Uncle Harlan appeared at my job site Wednesday. Just entered the entrance and requested front desk for me. My colleague Zara approached my workstation inquiring if I knew some elder gentleman insisting to converse with me about a relative's crisis. Harlan wants to have supper Thursday to review the circumstance. He said he has a suggestion. I already know what he's going to attempt, and I have 6 years of records prepared. Revision 2. Thursday supper with Uncle Harlan occurred. Some of you cautioned me it was a setup. You were correct, but not in the manner anyone anticipated. Harlan selected this meat restaurant near his lodging. Costly, the type of location where he could feel like the important figure managing relatives' affairs. I arrived with a binder. 6 years of financial records, settlement verifications, every transaction I ever made for Mother, printed and arranged by year. Harlan began with the worried uncle act, discussing how relatives needs to remain united, how Mother is frightened and bewildered, how this circumstance is escalating. He said he comprehended I was wounded by what was uttered at meal. But that phrases spoken in irritation shouldn't ruin a relative's. I inquired him if labeling me a wandering dog pursuing endorsement was irritation. If informing me my deceased father knew I was valueless was just phrases. He didn't respond that. Phrases spoken in irritation shouldn't ruin a relative's. Oh, so now we're concerned about phrases ruining households. Where was this vigor when Mother was labeling him her largest failure in a packed eatery? Where was this phrases matter belief when Uncle Harlan likened him to a wandering dog before servers and outsiders? Funny how phrases only become hazardous tools when they're being utilized by the person who's been on the receiving side for 34 years. And Harlan appearing at his job site. That's a dominance maneuver. That's I'm going to humiliate you in your work setting because I still don't view you as someone meriting limits. He entered this man's employment like he was gathering on an obligation, because in Harlan's mind, that's exactly what this is. The relative's asset finally malfunctioning, and someone needs to restore the resource in order. Then came the suggestion. Harlan proposed to fund Mother's invoices himself for the next 6 months. If I consented to restart settlements after that, and if I expressed regret to Mother for the way I departed meal. He presented it like he was granting me a benefit, providing me time to relax and return to the relatives. I opened my binder, displayed him the figures $847 monthly for drugs, $340 average for services, $4,200 every 3 months for land levies. I inquired him if he was prepared to handle $73,000 over 6 months, including the overdue levies that were about to be owed. His expression altered really quickly. Harlan didn't know the complete extent. Nobody did except me. Mother never informed anyone how much I was actually funding. She permitted everyone to think it was just minor aid occasionally. Harlan thought he was proposing to handle perhaps a few $100s monthly. He attempted to change direction, began stating Nathan should be managing this since he received the residence, that the asset was Nathan's duty. I concurred entirely, informed him Nathan should definitely be funding. But Nathan's spouse Lena just discovered about all of this 3 days back, and their union is currently exploding over the fact that Nathan concealed a reliant mother from her for their whole relationship. $73,000. Let that figure rest for a second. This man has discreetly channeled $73,000 to his mother over 6 years, while she informed the relatives he was aiding a bit out of remorse. She downplayed his offering intentionally, not because she was ashamed to require aid, because she didn't want anyone to know how much he was actually valuable. If the relatives knew the true figure, they'd have to recognize he was significant. They'd have to confess the failure was actually supporting them, so she kept it ambiguous. Oh, he aids occasionally. Madam, aiding occasionally is purchasing food items when you visit. Aiding occasionally is handling a communication invoice once. $73,000 is an initial payment on a dwelling. That's a complete income for some folks, and Harlan really entered thinking he could issue a few payments and resolve this. The boldness of thinking a temporary fix would mend an injury this profound. I can't even fathom the level of denial in that family. That's when Harlan said something that made everything connect. He said Mother always shielded Nathan from monetary pressure because Nathan was delicate. That after Father passed, the whole relatives concurred Nathan shouldn't be loaded with Mother's support because he had his own household to establish. That I was the reasonable selection because I was solitary and had no genuine duties. They resolved this without my knowledge. The entire relatives convened at some point and concurred that I would be the one to support Mother, because my existence didn't matter as much, because I had no spouse, no children, no future meriting protection. I inquired Harlan when this discussion occurred. He said right after Father's burial, 6 years back. While I was still mourning, they were allocating who would be accountable for what. Nathan got the residence and resources. I got the invoices and the load. And Mother got to continue pretending her favored child was flawless while treating me like the assistants. I rose, informed Harlan there was no suggestion he could present that would alter anything. That I didn't want re-entry into this relatives. That I wanted them to experience exactly what I experienced for 6 years. Unseen, unrecognized, trapped with a burden nobody else desired to support. He labeled me harsh, said I was going to end my own mother over arrogance. I informed him Mother had 2 other choices positioned at that table with her at meal. She could inquire Nathan. She could inquire him, but they both anticipated the failure to continue funding for the honor of being treated like refuse. Left him with the invoice. They had a gathering. They convened after interring their father after interring his father, and distributed the relatives' duties like it was a business reorganization. Okay. Nathan gets the resources because he's delicate. The other one gets the obligations because his existence doesn't matter, and nobody thought to inform him. Nobody thought maybe the guy who was about to become the relative's unofficial financier should have a voice in whether he desired that position. This wasn't assignment, folks. This was offering without agreement. They looked at him and saw an asset to be drawn, not an individual to be consulted. And the rationale? You were solitary. You had no genuine duties. Translation: your existence was vacant enough that we could fill it with our issues. Your isolation made you beneficial. Your absence of a household made you accessible to serve ours. That's not relatives watching out for each other. That's a relatives identifying the most vulnerable member and loading them with the burden everyone else declined to support. Friday dawn, I got a message from Aunt June. Mother fainted. She's at the medical center. Nathan is insisting I arrive. And apparently Lena just informed Nathan she wants a division because she discovered he's been deceiving about funds for years. This is all crumbling faster than I anticipated. Last revision, I went to the medical center, not for Mother, for myself. I needed to gaze them all in the eyes one more time. The whole relatives was in the waiting space, Nathan appearing ruined. Aunt June weeping, Uncle Harlan walking back and forth, and Mother was steady, conscious, requesting for me specifically. The caregiver said she'd been uttering my name for an hour. Nathan blocked me before I could proceed anywhere. Began right away with how this was my responsibility. How the pressure I caused initiated her incident. How I needed to resolve this immediately. Lena wasn't there. He said she'd taken the children to her mother's dwelling and wasn't responding to his messages. I inquired him how the land levy circumstance was proceeding. He turned ashen. Turns out he'd finally investigated it. The cutoff was in 2 weeks, $16,800 owed. If unsettled, the district initiates the procedure. Mother can't fund. Nathan can't fund without Lena's consent because their finances are combined. And Lena isn't consenting to anything right now. Lena took the children and departed. Nathan's union is exploding. Mother's in the medical center. The land levies are approaching, and nobody can fund them. And Nathan, magnificent, favored, shielded Nathan, is finally submerging in the same liquid his sibling has been maintaining for 6 years. But here's the distinction. When our fellow was submerging, nobody tossed him a line. They tossed him more burden and informed him to propel harder. Now Nathan's submerging, and abruptly, it's a relatives crisis. Abruptly, everyone needs to hurry to resolve it. Abruptly, there are gatherings and communications, and 63 folks dialing the same digits. Where was this vigor when the failure was discreetly maintaining everything stable? Where were the relatives' gatherings then? Oh, right. They didn't require gatherings because one person was managing it. Silently, invisibly, the way they planned it. Harlan attempted to intervene again. Said he'd handle the levies if I consented to return and assist oversee Mother's support. I informed him the proposal was 6 years overdue, that I didn't want to oversee anything, that I wanted to observe them determine what I'd been doing solitary this whole time. Then I went to see Mother. She was positioned up in bed, appeared tinier than I recalled, began weeping the instant I entered, kept stating she didn't intend it, that she cherished me, that I was her child, and she required me. I sat and inquired her one query. I inquired her to tell me to Father in November 2007, the cooking area discussion. I informed her I'd been positioned in the corridor and overheard everything. She halted weeping, just gazed at me, and then she confessed it. Said she informed father that having me was an error, that I was challenging from a rival, that I exhausted her. That Nathan was the child she truly desired. She said she was fatigued that day and didn't intend it. But yes, she uttered it, 20 years back. And she never expressed regret because she thought I didn't know. I informed her I constructed my whole mature existence around that discussion. Every advancement I labored for. Every dollar I preserved. Every invoice I funded for her was me attempting to demonstrate I wasn't an error. And she accepted all of it and still labeled me her largest failure in an eatery full of outsiders. 20 years. This man has been supporting a discussion he overheard when he was 16 for 20 years. Every accomplishment, every offering, every invoice funded. It was all a tryout for a position he was never going to obtain. He spent 2 decades attempting to demonstrate to his mother that he merited to exist, and she didn't even realize he was acting. She didn't know he hurt her. She didn't know every dollar he dispatched was him yelling, "Am I sufficient yet?" into an emptiness that was never attending. And her justification, "I was fatigued that day." Madam, fatigued folks say they need rest. Fatigued folks lash at vehicles. Fatigued folks don't turn to their partner and methodically clarify why one of their offspring is an error while the other is a wonder. That's not fatigue speaking. That's reality emerging when you're too weary to maintain the facade. The betrayal of that moment, it's like a punch to the gut even now. She inquired what I desired, what would rectify this. I informed her I desired Nathan to dispose of the resident's father granted him, and use that funds to fund for her support. I desired Harlan to confess to the whole relatives that they resolved at father's burial to unload mother's monetary load on me, because my existence wasn't meriting protection. And I desired her to inform Nathan the reality about what she said to father, all of it. She said she couldn't do that it would ruin Nathan. That he revered father, and discovering father concurred with her that I was a load would shatter him. Father concurred with her. She just verified something I always suspected but never knew for sure. Both of them viewed me as the error child, and Nathan got to live his whole existence not knowing any of it. I rose, informed her she had 2 weeks to determine the levies. That I wasn't funding another penny. That if Nathan had to dispose of the residents to handle her costs, then maybe he'd finally comprehend what I supported solitary for 6 years. Walked out past Nathan and Harlan without uttering anything else. It would ruin Nathan, even in this instant, in the medical center, after fainting, facing the very real chance of losing everything. And her impulse is still to shield Nathan. Still, she just confessed both parents viewed one child as an error. And her main worry is ensuring the other child never discovers he was involved in a falsehood. She's not concerned about the child she harmed. She's concerned about the child she shielded. And that right there informs you everything you need to know about this relatives. They would rather let one child support shame he didn't earn than risk the other child feeling a bit of unease. Nathan's ease has always been worth more than this man's whole existence. Even now, even at the conclusion, that was 3 days back. Since then, Nathan has messaged me 40 times pleading me to converse. Harlan traveled home without uttering farewell. And Aunt June dispatched me an extended note stating the relatives is gathering this weekend to review disposing of the residents. They're going to have to do collectively what I did solitary. And they're going to have to gaze at each other knowing they selected this. They chose who would support the burden and who would be shielded. Now everyone supports it. Mother labeled me her largest failure. Turns out I was the only one preventing her whole existence from crumbling. Funny how that operates.